Hey everybody, it's Chris, MTGO's RexDart. This is a video deck tech for the Cobra Jund list that I'm playing in this week's two-mans. And the origin of this deck is my dissatisfaction with Dark Confidant. I started seeing Jund lists popping up for Legacy last year. I saw one before it became popular at the Star City Open in St. Louis, started experimenting around with it a bit myself. And once it became popular, all the stock lists were basically running Dark Confidant because that's what is run in the modern version. And undeniably, it's a good card. A lot of very smart people like that card. I personally just do not get along with that card. And I wanted to consider some alternatives here. So what I did is I thought, well, I could slot Lotus Cobra in at the 2 slot. That'll allow me to play some higher end threats. So that's basically how this deck took shape. The Deathrite Shamans obviously are key in powering out some of this high-end stuff as well, and they run interference against combos, so that's pretty much going to be seen in all these lists. Lightning Bolt removal for a lot of the little utility creatures and stuff I would need to pop off. I went with 6 of these duress effects here, 4 Thoughtseize and 2 Inquisitions. I wanted to have a bit more game against combo decks, and I felt that the rest of my deck was a bit more mid-range aggro, and if I didn't have a lot of this, that I would get just caught with my pants down by combo. So I hedged and went up to 6 of these. The 4 Thoughtseize would come out against aggro decks in place of the 2 Finks and probably the 2 Diabolic Edicts, potentially a Jite, because I don't like those in that matchup. But I'd rather just be prepared in game 1 and not just forfeit game 1 to combo. If I wanted to forfeit game 1 to combo, I would just play Zoo. So I have 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Maelstrom Pulse as my mix here for removal, so it's emphasis on versatility. I've got the 1 of Sylvan Library. I've thought about playing 2, and I have played 2 before in decks, even though the second one is redundant. Now the first one rarely gets removed, but more people are playing things like Abrupt Decay nowadays, so especially all those bug control lists, so it's possible that I want to. I'm not sure. Couple of lilies here. The 4 Bloodbraid Elves are sort of my incremental card advantage for this deck, and my way to get a little bit of velocity. If you've ever played Jund in Modern or Legacy, you know that Bloodbraid Elf is just the feeling of top decking a Bloodbraid Elf is just great. And I decided when I first brewed this deck, I was running Koth in this slot because there were a lot of those blue-white control decks running around, and I liked the idea of having a planeswalker threat, something that would live through the Terminus. And so I was running Koth as a way to work around that. But Koth was okay, but he was never quite what I was looking for. And now I am experimenting with Chandra Pyromaster, who I have heard people have been playing in Jund lists. And so far I like her, and you'll see that she works out to be pretty key in at least one of the matches that I'll be uploading here. Thundermaw Hellkite, you're probably very familiar with if you've played Standard in the last year. He's seen play in Modern. I'm not sure if anybody else is trying him out in Legacy yet, but he does some good things here, and I can play him turn 3 off of a Lotus Cobra and then a fetch land, potentially. He's going to hit Baleful Strixes, Lingering Souls tokens, things of that nature, and just being a 5-power hasty flyer against the Planeswalker control decks is excellent. So that's the main deck. The lands, I did not play Wasteland here. I wanted to make sure I had enough. Need a lot of fetch lands to get the Shaman and the Cobra to work, and I wanted to have a healthy number of basics here. I've got a couple mountains, the forest, and the swamp, in order to make sure I can play around Wasteland to try to get up to my higher end threats. Of course, the Deathrite Shaman and the Lotus Cobra help enormously in that regard. So it's possible I could have slipped a couple of Wastelands in here, and I may do so in a later revision. I'm not sure. The sideboard got a few Engineered Plagues for tribal decks and things like Green-White, Maverick for naming humans, and Red Elemental Blast to bring in against the Show and Tell decks. Ancient Grudge for artifact-based control decks, and Affinity if anyone still plays that. You see that in the 2-man sometimes. And finally, I've got Underworld Dreams here as something I can plop into play off of Show and Tell. Depending on their version, if they're doing Omniscience and then Enter the Infinite, this is pretty good against them. If they're doing a Grizzlebrand, then they have basically only one activation they can probably afford to do off of Grizzlebrand if I plop an Underworld Dreams down, because it's going to cost them 14 life to get one activation. So that's something I have not actually had the opportunity to test this yet, so I'm hoping I will get the opportunity to do so. If any of you have tried this card in that matchup, I'd appreciate your comments. So there's the deck, and let's take a look at how we did in matches.